Good morning, everyone. Guys, I'm very happy to attest you once again. Cameroon is at the crossroad. The upcoming presidential elections are just around the corner. This is the time for us, the moment to make the right decision about our own destiny. Guys, what are we doing to make that change happen in October 2025? And for those who have not registered yet on the electoral list, still have the time to do so. Because no one will defend us after those elections. The Biya regime has no intention to stop the war which is still raging in the Anglophone regions. Mr. Biya finds a certain benefit in maintaining that war because it's the old recipe that we all know that the colonizers brought in Africa, divide and conquer. So we know better that Mr. Biya will never find a solution and to stop the war there in those regions. And the consequences are terrible, guys. Many families have been displaced internally, also externally. Houses have been burned down to ashes, and the education of people has been completely dismantled. And this is the chaos which is taking place in those regions. People are just confined in their houses. They can't go out and walk freely. And the situation is dreadful, guys, because the kind of insecurity which is there now is really concerning. And Cameroonians should know that it's the only opportunity we have right now to turn the BS page. We can embrace that destiny. We can be the captain of our own ships. We can come together as one people and one nation to face our own destiny. Fortunately, we have somebody like Apostle Kamto. We can count on him, guys, because he's a man of integrity. He's a very serious man. If we support him, if we try to work with him, he will just put in place a conducive environment for our reconciliation, for the development of our country. For some Kamto will make our country more attractive to foreign and national businesses. We need that president, guys, because he is competent, he is qualified to do the job. You can go out there and scrutinize his professional career, also what he has done for our country. You remember the Bakassi Peninsula. He fought there in order to keep the integrity, the territorial integrity of our country. This is what Professor Kamto is known for. And he is a lawyer. We know what he has done for our nation, for Africa in general, defending the interests, mostly in the face of France, of Western countries. Professor Kamto has never been afraid when it came to defend the interests of African people. And guys, I know that Rwanda, as we speak, and many of you are so frustrated in the core of their heart. I do understand that, the pain, because many of your family's members have been killed since the beginning of that fratricide war. Many of them have been arrested, they have been imprisoned. I understand the pain that you are going through, but at the same time, I'm telling you this. If nothing is done, the situation will get worse and worse every day, guys. Look at what is happening on the ground right now as we speak. Things are getting terrible every day, more difficult than ever before. So this is a moment for us to embrace that destiny, to face the reality, to challenge Mr. Biya, to force him to step down. So we need to do our part. We need to register on the electoral list, to vote massively for Professor Moskamto, to cast our vote for him, and to be ready to defend our vote. This is the only recipe we have. There is no other option on the table. Professor Moskamto is our unique chance, guys. He has been the first the first political figure to address the Anglophone crisis, even way before the war ever burst out there. He has been addressing since 2012. Also, Kamto has been reminding all Cameroonians that our brothers and sisters of the Anglophone regions do not feel confident. They feel frustrated, stigmatized. They feel like they are treated unfairly just because they're Anglophone. And Professor Kamto has been saying so many times, we have to stop and to listen to them and to solve for that crisis once for all. Professor Kamto will sit down through a genuine dialogue with all stakeholders after freeing all those who have been arrested since the beginning of the war. He will sit down with all of them to find a solution. A solution will emerge, guys, because every time that the children of the same family sit down to solve their issue, a compromise, a consensus always emerge. And Professor Kamto has been very vocal and very precise. The only thing that we can put in place now to solve that issue is the federalism. Professor Kamto will, after the dialogue, the federalism will be put in our constitution. So all those presidents who will come after Professor Kamto will respect, will follow the same rule. The federalism composed of two states will be put in place in Cameroon, will be implemented. The Francophone regions will represent one federal state, and the Anglophone regions, the so-called northern and southern regions of our country, will represent the second federal state. This is how we can solve that issue. But we cannot sit down and organize that dialogue without defining the environment. The first trip of Osomos Kamto, when he becomes our president, will be there in those regions to reassure Cameroonians there and to tell them that he is the president of all Cameroonians, regardless their community, regardless their tribe, what if their religion, whatever it can be, their gender. Posomos Kamto will become the president of all Cameroonians, guys. So we have the chance, the opportunity to have that guy in power. He can be our president, and he will be a fine president because we know what he has done for himself. We know his professional career. We know his character. We know, guys. And it's not something because when people talk outside there, they are still making up things against Professor Kamto, trying to invent things to paint him as a bad guy, as a guy of France. No, Professor Kamto is a Pan-Africanist. He will defend our interests in the face of all other nations. This is why he counts only on us. He counts on us to become our president. Because if we put him in power, he will be defending our interests fairly, freely, guys, without counting on any other countries around the world, without counting on France. But we have to invest ourselves to make that possible. Mr. Abia is not alone. Mr. Abia is with France. That's why he doesn't want to lose even an inch of his power. That's why he doesn't believe in any kind of negotiation, because he knows that his legitimacy does not come from Cameroonians. It comes from France. That's why he is still there in France. He is informing France about everything which is happening in Cameroon. That's why he will never sit down and negotiate with you. The only person who can stop the war right now is Professor Kamto. Look at what the education of your children has become. It's terrible. Women, young girls have been transformed, and now what they are doing is something that I cannot even imagine. They are involved in prostitution. This is what they are doing to survive. They are in Douala, Yaoundé, Bafoussam. They are doing the same stuff, guys, because they do not have any opportunities to do otherwise. And men are also, they were at the time, they were very young, they were children. Now they are involved in crimes. They are in drug They have been, they have been changed completely by drug dealers. Now they are also doing the same stuff. It's just terrible. The violence which is taking place in Cameroon is also because those young people do not have any chance to work for their country. They do not have any opportunity, guys, to be educated. This is what is happening. It's tragic. So there is no time now for whining, crying, complaining. We have been doing that for more than 8 years, and nothing has changed on the ground. The situation is becoming even more difficult than ever before. Now, some people count on the international community. It's not going to happen, guys, because those guys do not even care. And every time that they come, they're always creating chaos, turmoil. So we cannot expect anything from the international community. They are not going to solve our issue. And as we speak, many people are still killed in the Anglophone regions. The casualties are ramping up every day. And at the same time, the general situation of Cameroon is just terrible. And the economy is plunging. The inflation is ramping up. People cannot afford the healthcare. They can't put food on the table. What is happening is terrible. Car accidents are taking place every day, guys. We have no hospitals, no potable water. We lack basic needs. There is no time now to think otherwise, to think differently from what I'm telling you. It's the truth. The only thing we can do now is to count on Professor Kamto to support him because we are pretty much confident. If he becomes our president, he will change our situation. He will be working on our behalf. He will defend our interests. The development of our country will be possible. Our economy will take off. We are certain, guys, because we will provide incentives to young entrepreneurs, to encourage businesses, because they are those who are the engine of the development. And we know that. And Professor Kamto wants to do with all Cameroonians. He counts on all Cameroonians. This is the most important thing. It's not like Mr. Biya with his regime. They have confiscated all our resources. The country now belongs only to them. This is what has been happening. And our institutions are completely dismantled. The corruption is ramping up every day. And the public money has been completely embezzled. There is nothing left, guys. And we have to build our country from scratch. And we have the chance, the opportunity to have a guy that Professor Kamto. There is no time to think about other options because we do not have any, guys. So this for me, what is coming from the core of my heart, this is what I can express to you. I am suffering in the core of my heart as well. So it's not just a matter of Anglophone people, it's a national concern for us now, what is happening in Cameroon. We need a reconciliation. Professor Kamto, after solving all those issues, after building up the houses which have been burned down to ashes, Professor Kamto will put in place a commission for our reconciliation to sit down and talk. This is how we should be solving our issue as members of the same family. We are in the same family, guys. Cameroon belongs to all of us. So I know that many of you now have been so frustrated to the extent now that you are asking for a cessation. Cessation is not an option for us, for Professor Kamto. We want you to stay in Cameroon, to be with us, guys. All together, we are going to develop our country, to allow our country to move forward. We can do that. It's not that difficult. If we invest ourselves in October 2025, we start from now, register on a list, vote for Professor Kamto, and ready to fill the streets to defend our vote. This is the only thing, the only recipe we have, guys. So there is no time to whine, to cry, no time for whining, for crying. There is no time for that. We've been doing that for more than 4 decades, and nothing has changed on the ground. The poverty is skyrocketing, guys. The middle class has been crushed over these years. Look at the situation of Cameroon, of Cameroonians, as we speak. Look at how our the youth is becoming. People are very violent now, verbally, physically. They are very violent, and women are violated every day. They are submitted to any kind of violence, and most of the time they are abused sexually. Young people, sometimes to benefit some advantages or some opportunities of what they have to put themselves at a position that at a humiliating position. They have to accept that. Sometimes they have to accept to be abused just because of their hope to occupy a certain position in a company. But there are no companies in Cameroon. The country is dying.
Fellow Cameroonians, my dear compatriots, the national tragedy unfolding before our eyes urges me to address you today on two topics that involve most Cameroonians. On the one hand, the situation of civil war that is destroying with rare violence the northwest and southwest English-speaking regions, and on the other hand, the phase 2 of the national resistance plan to the electoral hold-up. On the civil war that ravages the northwest and southwest regions, the populations of the two regions have for some time been facing an escalation of atrocities of all kinds. Arbitrary arrest, summary executions, extrajudicial judgments, destruction of assets, and so on. In the total indifference of the power, some statistics report hundreds of deaths in all categories: military, separatists, and civilians, thousands of refugees, and hundreds of thousands of displaced populations. Since the beginning of this conflict, the power in Yaoundé has favored the use of arms, which only exacerbate the situation. Because of the shortcomings in its leadership and governance, it is becoming clearer every day that this power has lost all credibility that can allow it to bring the necessary calm and to solve the problem satisfactorily for all the protagonists of the conflict. However, if nothing is done quickly, it is to be feared that the observed escalation will lead to total war. During the election campaign, I made the commitment that once elected, the problem of our compatriots in the northwest and southwest regions will be one of my priorities. So, with the confidence you have shown me, and in the face of the escalating suffering in the two regions, the resolution of this problem is absolutely urgent. It is from this perspective that I call on the various stakeholders through the following proposals, which aim to provide concrete solutions to the grievances of our compatriots of the English-speaking regions, while respecting the unity of our nation. As I have indicated in many previous statements, my approach in the resolution of this crisis is underpinned by the precondition that the secessionists undertake to renounce the partition of the country and to seek such a partition. If this prerequisite will be accepted by all, I propose the following actions to all stakeholders. At the military level, A, I call for an immediate ceasefire and the establishment of a disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration process for insurgent fighters. B, I ask for a general amnesty for the benefit of all those involved in this conflict, together with the release of those detained in this context. At the humanitarian level, I sent a message of deep compassion to the families of those who died as a result of this fratricidal conflict, whoever the victims are. My prayers are also with injured victims and their families. Given the atrocities suffered by the populations of the region concerned, urgent measures are needed. In this view, I address to the people of the Northwest and Southwest a message of encouragement and solidarity in their sufferings, and exhort them to prepare to return to their towns and villages as soon as conditions are met for this purpose. I would like to assure you that initiatives are now being taken in the direction of the international community to stop the conflict and the atrocities it causes. Measures will be taken to compensate for the loss of property related to this conflict, including the reconstruction of the destroyed houses and the allocation to the victims of the loss of financial endowments to enable them to restart their activities. I ask that step be taken now to find refugees in Nigeria on the one hand, and to bring back people who have taken refuge in the forest on the other hand. I appeal to the solidarity and indignation of my French-speaking compatriots with regard to the fate of their brothers and sisters in the Northwest and Southwest regions. I would like to point out to you that what is happening in this part of our country concerns us all directly. Do not give in to laurels of division. The foundation of our political struggle is the building of a fraternal and united republic within the framework of a united Cameroon. Therefore, the death or suffering of a compatriot, regardless of his place of residence or origin, must concern us as if it were ourselves. Let us not go in the ambient indifference of which we often only wake up when we have become the same victim of the unacceptable. In this perspective, I believe that it is high time to take concrete initiatives of solidarity with our English-speaking brothers and sisters. Also, I ask the people of the French-speaking regions of the country to implement with commitment and determination the following measures. A, for the remainder of November and until the end of December 2018, observe a half day without activity, ghost town and villages, every Monday from 1 p.m. in order to bring the power to take without delay the significant measures necessary to initiate the resolution of the crisis ravaging the regions concerned, so that the population of these regions spend the end of the year holidays in their families. Cameroonians in the interior and in the diaspora must show their most generous solidarity towards the families of the Northwest and Southwest region, particularly affected by the ongoing conflict, by donations, especially food, clothing, money, etc., so that these families spend less difficult Christmas and New Year holidays. Donations should be sent to Aya Foundation, whose manager is Mr. Abine Aya. It is one of the few field active NGOs in the English-speaking regions, and that knows how to channel to the people the donations. You can see the address of the foundation below your screen. B. From the 16th of January 2019, if the power persists in the military option and the refusal of any political initiative to resolve the crisis in the English-speaking part of the country, I will call Cameroonians from all regions and even in the smallest villages for gigantic, peaceful marches every Saturday, because although my constant concern is to spare the lives of Cameroonians, we cannot imperturbably let the blood of our compatriots continuously flow like a torrent when most of them are innocent and peaceful populations. The same goes with soldiers of all regional origins who are embedded in a dirty war. Let them kill us all if they want. I ask the power to stop the use of arms, because it cannot be a solution to a political problem. I urge them to resort to an inclusive dialogue, as many national and international bodies have recommended. I word prayers for military casualties who have fallen victim to an unjust war against their own brothers and sisters, an absurd war that the civilian leaders of the state are having them do, instead of taking their political responsibility to put an end, if not able to avoid it. Our soldiers, exhausted and mutilated for some of them, don't know again why they are in war. Getting Cameroonian soldiers to shoot at their rebellious compatriots, equipped with poor or wretched arms, cannot be a sufficiently motivating goal for those who are expected to sacrifice their lives. I urge the brave elements of the National Defense Forces to refrain from using disproportionate violence against their compatriots. To our compatriots who took up arms in a secessionist intent, I would like to say that I hear their grievances against the regime in power, which may have led to such radicalism. These include the lack of effective and broad enough autonomy for the English-speaking regions of the country to take care of their own affairs, the failure to take into account the cultural specificity born in the historical particularism of the English-speaking populations, and more generally, the injustices, the discrimination, and the inequalities between citizens, the lack of a balanced development, of all the regions of the country and the promotion of a hyper-centralized state where a handful of people are getting richer and richer to the detriment of the biggest number. On the other hand, I cannot agree with their approach, causing desolation and mourning among our brothers and sisters in the northwest and southwest regions, and to seek the partition of our dear and beautiful country, Cameroon, magnificent common work of Anglophones and Francophones. I commit myself, once the ceasefire has been secured, to economic measures to enable fighters to start income-generating activities or to enter the socio-professional life in a decent manner as part of the disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration operation. To the economic community of Central African states, to the African Union, and to the United Nations, I ask them to give the necessary attention and the necessary priority to an urgent resolution of the crisis in the northwest and southwest of Cameroon. How many more deaths, refugees, widows, and orphans are required for your respective organization to have a compassionate look at the tragedy in the English-speaking regions of my country? Whatever the legal classification, atrocities committed in these regions are among the serious crimes identified by the international community and heavily sanctioned because they upset human conscience. The ongoing escalation in this crisis could lead to a situation of social and political instability in the Central African sub-region. To the friendly countries of Cameroon, I would like to recall that the history of recent conflicts teaches that indifference and wait-and-see attitude are serious mistakes in international resolution of conflicts. They usually result in humanitarian disasters, which could have been avoided if we had realized in time to invest in them by preventive and political measures. They must spare no effort to help Cameroon quickly end the ongoing massacre in English-speaking areas before it is too late. At the political level, it must be recognized that the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions stems from the refusal to take into account their historical and cultural specificities, a consequence of the British and French dual administration of after the First World War. This short-sightedness, which is an essential underlying reason for the grievances of the English-speaking population, has led, it must be recommended, to the marginalization of the English-speaking regions in the process of economic, political, social and cultural development of the country, and more recently in the electoral process. However, just as we cannot deny that these historical circumstances contributed in a certain way to the enrichment of our cultural heritage, it is undeniable that they created certain particularism which are at the origin of the complexification of our socio-political system. Resolving the English-speaking crisis over the long term requires us to look at the evolution and conditions of the Cameroonian state as a result of the dual heritage of the British and French administrations over our country. We must not be afraid to engage in this exercise when it is admitted that it aims at building a Cameroonian nation stronger on its foundations, and thanks to the unity of destiny of all its socio-historical and cultural components. Revisiting the state architecture of our country in order to get out of a hyper-centralization, the development of decentralized territorial units cannot in any way weaken our country. It can only strengthen it by accelerating the pace of its development, thanks in particular to the development of the regions that will become the driving force. In this perspective, it is necessary to go beyond the specific problems of the Northwest and Southwest regions in order to respond to the more general problem of autonomy and development in all regions of the country. With this in mind, I pledge to carry out as soon as possible, in any case at the end of the inclusive dialogue, the indispensable state reform for an effective takeover by the regions of their development, the central state ensuring the broad balances. In order to meet with double requirement to meet the specific expectation of the English-speaking regions on the one hand, and the state reform for a wide autonomy of all regions of the country in the other hand, the following initiatives will be launched. A. The establishment in the very short term of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission aimed at informing the collective memory and recreating the conditions of trust between Anglophones and Francophones compatriots and between the population of the Northwest and Southwest and the state. B. The establishment in the very short term of an inclusive dialogue framework to capture the concerns of all stakeholders as well as proposals for solutions. C. The creation of a special mission for balanced regional development with a time-limited mandate. This multidisciplinary special mission will have to inventory and analyze different countries that have been confronted with a situation similar to that of Cameroon, proposing a comparative evaluation of the solutions in terms of advantages and disadvantages. This process should allow our country to adopt and adapt solutions and best practices in this area so as to avoid the pitfalls that other countries have experienced before ours. D. The granting of the special powers to the Northwest and Southwest regions for an effective and efficient consideration of their particularities in the agreed areas. On phase 2 of the National Resistance Program to the electoral holdup, a few days ago, back from the headquarters of the African Union in Addis Ababa, I stopped in Douala to pay a visit to supporters of the national resistance bettered by the security deployment of the regime during the 27th October march. Visit the regional office of the party, CRM, attacked and damaged by security forces the same day, and call on the people of Douala to massively go and support next 4th December the resistance fighters arrested for supporting the no to the electoral holdup. After my short message, some people loudly announced the end of the national resistance and that I have approved the victory of the incumbent president on the basis of the fabricated results of the Constitutional Council. Let them keep their illusions. The attempt to kill the national resistance are vain. On the 6th November 2018 in Yaoundé, I told you that the national resistance was just beginning. I told you on the 19th November in Douala to keep mobilized as the resistance continues. Let me reiterate that the resistance does continue. It is enriched with new expressions. The Cameroonian diaspora is now one of its flag bearers, and the international action is getting deeper. I told you that I do not wish to lose any of you. I repeat it today, because organizing a peaceful demonstration, no to hold up, cannot be done without preparation. And because I do not want to lose any of you, I urge you again to organize nothing that is not authorized by the National Resistance Plan or by the coalition, which makes sure that supporters of the Hold Up campaign are not killed. Indeed, we do not want anyone among you to die. At each phase of the resistance, the coalition will decide on the measures to be implemented after evaluation of the situation. Keep in mind that the ultimate goal of the National Resistance Plan is the re-establishment and the restoration of the truth of the polls on the evening of 7th October 2018. The truth that makes me the President-elect of the Republic of Cameroon. As such, all our actions have so far contributed to this goal and will continue to support it. Resistance does not stop. On the contrary, it becomes denser and gradually gaining power because its ranks are growing and its organization is becoming more refined as each day goes by. Phase 1 was the start-up phase, allowing Cameroonians to relearn altruism by taking an interest in one another, learning to commit to the homeland again for free, and learning how to come together to save the motherland. The National Resistance Plan is the home in which Cameroonian patriotism can find new momentum. It is the framework of the fight against oppression and tribalism. It is based on a peaceful approach and respect of the national constitution, because the national resistance is not national insurrection. The serious constitutional violations already present during the October presidential election process and repeated during the electoral dispute have reached a new level, which is the savage repressions of peaceful demonstrations, no to hold up. The lack of respect for the constitutional freedoms and rights of Cameroonian citizens involved in the resistance is proof of this, since the public demonstrations, which moreover are peaceful like ours, are guaranteed by the Cameroonian constitution. Other evidence is the systematic use of torture and the use of other forms of violence, such as beatings by police on peaceful protesters. Moreover, In view of the Cameroonian constitution, how can one understand other than as a manifestation of the arbitrary power the criminal prosecution of certain peaceful resistors at the moment? Be aware that, unsurprisingly, the second phase of the National Resistance Plan will show that these constitutional violations are prolonged by violations of ordinary laws by the outgoing regime and, in fact, outgunned through the ballot box. So, immerse yourself in phase 2 of our National Resistance Plan. Carefully follow this plan in its 2 new points that enrich those of phase 1, knowing that our actions are aimed at specific strategic objectives. Trust us, the coalition and myself. I tell you again, I will not abandon you. I will not betray you. For I know more than anyone that it is possible together. So, together, we'll continue to say no to hold up. Long live Cameroon.